Good afternoon, teacher. We are going to talk about the time lapse of the Milky Way and the solar system. Our team is confirmed by Ingrid Mejorada Yañez, Dari, and me, Paola.
Right after the Big Bang. What happened right after the Big Bang? After the Big Bang, the universe was dense and boiling, like a hot soup of particles. No stars or any other type of bright objects had been formed yet. As the time passed and the universe got cooler, the conditions gave rise to the building blocks of matter, the quarks and electrons of which we are all made of. A few millions of seconds later, quarks aggregated in order to produce neutrons and protons, which combined into nuclei. The universe was expanding and getting cooler, and time started to slow down for certain processes and events. It took 380,000 years for electrons to be trapped in orbits around nuclei, forming the first atoms. Some current observations and investigations deduce that the first stars formed from clouds of gas around 150 to 100 million years after the Big Bang. This being connected to the fact that heavier atoms have since been frequently produced in the hearts of stars and catapulted throughout the universe in stellar explosions called supernovae. It's estimated that the time passed since the Big Bang until now. The age of the universe is around 13,700 million years. The first generation of stars in the Milky Way galaxy was formed at about the time the Dark Ages ended, which is about 200 million years after the Big Bang.
Now we're going to talk about the galaxy formation period, that it's about 14 to 9 billion years ago. Based on observations of the Hubble Space Telescope, it has been determined that approximately 1 billion of years after the Big Bang happened, the first galaxies took shape. One theory explains that galaxies were born when vast clouds of gas and dust collapsed under their own gravitational pull, and it allowed stars to appear. Another theory that has gained strength throughout the time explains that the young universe contained many small lumps of matter that clumped together to form galaxies. It is also based on images taken by the Hubble Space Telescope that show lumps that could be the precursors of modern galaxies. It is thought that early large galaxies were spirals, and over time they became ellipticals. Now, talking especially about the Milky Way, it is supposed that it happened exactly the same. Over time, two structures emerged, first a vast spherical halo and later a dense bright disk. Billions of years after that, our own solar system spun into being inside this disk. Now I am going to talk about the birth of the Sun, 5 billion years ago. It's born. The Sun was formed from a giant spinning cloud of gas and thus called the solar nebula. Then, when the nebula collapsed due to this overwhelming gravity, it spun faster and flattened into a disk, like a pancake. Most of the material was drawn towards the center to form the Sun. The Sun represents 99.8% of the mass of the entire solar system. Our spiral arm is formally called the Orionis Cygnus. It is also known simply as the Orion arm or local arm. There is where the Sun is located. Now we are going to talk about the formation of the Earth, planets, and the Moon, 4.5 billion years ago. First, the Earth is the third planet from the Sun. The name Earth is at least 1,000 years old. All the planets except for the Earth were named after Greek and Roman gods or goddesses. However, the name Earth is a Germanic word which simply means the ground. Earth formed when gravity pulled swirling gas and thus to became the third planet from the Sun. Like its fellow terrestrial planets, Earth has a central core, a rocky mantle, and a solid crust.
Planets. It is believed that most of the known planets were formed from solar nebula. This because a shock wave from a supernova explosion caused the collapse of solar nebula, which is the disk-shaped cloud of gas and dust left over from the sun's formation, which indicates that the sun and the planets were formed together 4.6 billion years ago. Jupiter was the first planet to be formed in the solar system. Planets. Mercury. It's the closest planet to the sun. Venus. Venus is the second planet from the sun. Mars. Mars is actually a very cold place. Jupiter. Jupiter is the biggest planet of them all. Saturn. It's composed of hydrogen and helium. Neptune. It's the farthest planet from the sun.
Now I am going to talk about the moon. There are a lot of theories, but the most accepted one is the giant impact theory. The giant impact theory says, the moon was formed during a collision between the Earth and another small planet, about the size of Mars. The debris from this impact collected in an orbit around Earth to form the moon. And there's another theory, which is the co-formation theory. In 2012, researcher Robin Canup proposed that Earth and the moon form at the same time when two massive objects 5 times the size of Mars crash into each other. And that is all. Thanks for your attention.